in this session, I'll go through a specific case study of branding and marketing of a Web3 company. The company is called CalDance. I'll get into further details in a few minutes. And firstly, I'll go through how I got the client, what the client was about, how we decided on the different design decisions that we took, the different designs that we designed. And I also have all the design files with me because I'm the one who designed them.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Misha is here. Let me introduce both of us. Firstly, we are part of a Design Plus community, which is something Misha started to bring different designers from different fields together. If you want to join that community, you can reach out to either me or Misha on our social channels, and we'll share the joining links. We are on WhatsApp, and now we are also on Discord. So we are on the community is on both of them, and I'll start with introducing Michelle. She is an experienced product designer and researcher, and Michelle, please add on to that.
Yeah, thanks, Aditya. So, hi everyone. Nice to have all of you. Well, regarding me, I have 14 years of work experience, more I would say on product management. But yes, front end experience management is something I'm passionate about. Product discovery, research, working in a agile framework with designers, developers, analysts. So that was a thought process while creating this group that I want people from different expertise to come together and discuss the best practices of how to make your design studies better, right from research to execution. So that's what we are trying to help each other here.
Thank you for the introduction, Misha. And like I am Aditya, and I am primarily a brand designer. Branding is quite multidisciplinary, so I also do quite a few things, but my core focus is on branding. I've been in the design field for 6+ years now. My works have been published on a few international publications and stuff like that. And if you're more curious about each of us, you can definitely check out our socials. But for now, let's dig in after all the technical delays. So the Web3 company that we will be discussing about is a company called CalDance. They have a twofold side of the business. They are primarily focused on the US and European market, but their core audience lies in the United States, and they are both. They have a CalDance coin, which is a crypto, and they have a blockchain network, which is the CalDance network, and they are a Web3 fitness brand. They have a physical product which they sell, and by buying that product you get the opportunity to exercise on it. It's comparable to Peloton, but the difference is when you are buying gym equipment or even network based equipments like Peloton, you are not getting anything out financially for doing your research, for doing your activities for your fitness, etc. That's where guidance comes in. When you are exercising on their fitness devices, the amount of exercise you do, you also contribute in producing, in contribute to the blockchain verification system, and for that contribution you get to earn their crypto. As you keep collecting their crypto, they are you get the crypto itself, which you can exchange on different markets and depending on what value they are in. And they're also building a network of their own, a marketplace of their own, where you can further utilize the crypto to buy characters, buy NFTs, and other stuff like that. Now, they are a very futuristic looking brand because they're into blockchain, and blockchain and Web3. It's still something a lot of people don't understand because it's not that clear yet. It's emerging technology, just like AI. The difference between AI and Web3 as emerging technologies is that AI has a lower barrier to entry. When you look at Gen AI and stuff like that, it's pretty easy to interact with. While for interacting with Web3, you need a little bit of technical know-hows because you need specific websites or specific marketplaces to access the Web3 directly. So that's a gap that this whole segment of industry still has, but they're working on it. Currently, there are other companies which are introducing mobile first Web3 networks. Uh, Amaze Wallet is one of them, and there are more. So the accessibility thing is also being breached, and currently Web3 bubble is declining, but and which is a good thing because just like dot com, you probably know about dot com bubble. So dot com bubble was a problem, the market crashed, but the dot com, the technology that it built, stood the test of time, and which is internet we are on. So similarly, Web3 itself has applications. The bubble thing of an any emerging technology happens, and AI is also going through a bubble which will also burst soon. But the technology itself will stand the test of time, which is also similar to Web3. Many crypto markets crashed, but the technology stood the test of time, and people are developing over that. Now, coming to the case study, the when you are branding any anything, irrespective of what market it is, a good place to start is the color palette. The color palette or the brand palette should have at least two core colors, which is the brand's primary and secondary colors. In case of CalDance, they are the neon green and the complete black, the 000000 hex black. It's because they are playing in the futuristic neon tech kind of vibe. That's the thing they are going with. Their whole brand experience is very futuristic and cyberpunk kind of thing. And but two colors are not enough because you also need to define few other segments of colors. One is the black and white because they are unavoidable. Then there comes different tertiary and transitional colors or secondary colors, or they're also known as the accent colors. What the role of them is to differentiate between different layers of colors in different creatives. So, in case of CalDance, since they have two core colors, we developed four transitional colors, which are different shades of green and combination of green and black, which is starts from the neon to gets darker and emerges into the black. And a core component of the marketing strategy for CalDance was on the social media. Social media itself has a lot of creatives that we developed, and I'll get into that later. But since they're building a community, which is a huge part of the whole Web3 thing, unlike most other technologies, which are where community comes as a marketing tool, Web3 is a community first approach. You look at any Web3 company, you will see that they start as a company, as a community, and then develop into a product and other stuff, because it's based on the whole network effect, the whole blockchain effect, and the more people you have in a community, the more they interact with your network, the stronger the network goes. Hence, the community first approach of Web3 is something that attracts a lot of people more than the technology itself, and CalDance is not an exception to that. And when you are interacting with any community, you need some community specific interactions. So they had the CalDance hashtag and the tomorrow first approach, because they're building the next generation of technologies. And these are some specific uh, brand specific elements to be used on social media, which comes a lot, but when you have a library of those, it helps to maintain the consistency, and you don't have to reinvent the design language every time you're creating something new. This is something that is applicable for all brands. The core channel that they focused was Twitter. And right now, Web3 marketing has migrated into other forms, other channels as well. LinkedIn has emerged as a prominent option for that. But it finally, the first platform that picked up the whole Web3 marketing was Twitter. And one of the core tools for that was Twitter Spaces, and which was popularized by club dance. Sorry, Clubhouse. But although Clubhouse invented a good channel of communication, they did not keep up with the changing needs. So the company itself is not relevant here. Rather, the technology that they popularized is something that has been adapted into other social media channels, the most prominent being Twitter and Twitter Spaces. So when you look at the different banners that and also most social media channels has a square format as the most useful aspect ratio for your creatives. Twitter is an exception because if you scroll through Twitter, you'll see that creatives which are very tall get cropped out and you need to click into them to look at them. So for Twitter, the most useful aspect ratio is closer to the 4 is to 3 aspect ratio. It's a little longer than that, but 4 is to 3 is something that you went with. And when you're designing for any platform, you need to design for something that works for the platform. And if you look at the different creatives, you will find that it has a specific kind of style. You'll notice a few brand elements that are getting repeated. And it's this repetition and consistency that helps you build a brand. This was the typefaces that they went with, Moonhouse and Chakrapech. So Moonhouse, as you can see, is a very space-like font. It gives you the vibe of the space, the whole cyberspace thing, the whole spaceship, the whole space tech vibe, NASA, etc., sci-fi movies, and that plays into the futuristic vibe of CalDance. But when you have a core typeface, which is very display typeface, you also need a secondary typeface that can work in your long forms of text. Because while Moonhouse looks cool on headings, it will be very hard to read when you put an entire long paragraph in Moonhouse. That's where Chakra page comes in. Chakra page itself is also not a very mainstream looking typeface if you compare to more popular sans serif typefaces like Inter, Roboto, Helvetica, Arial, etc. It doesn't have that signature sans serif look. It looks a little different, and that plays into the brand identity and the technology-driven vibe that CalDance goes with. So, when you are choosing typefaces for a brand, you need to keep three things in mind. The first thing is not all typefaces are good for all brands, no matter how good they look. Not every brand can look good in a Helvetica. So the typeface need to follow the vibe that the brand is trying to give. And along with vibe, there are two other parts. The second is readability. A brand doesn't just need to look cool; it also needs to be accessible. Your communications being cool is not enough. People looking at your communications also need to be able to understand what the communication is about. So readability is also important. To solve that, usually primary and secondary type based combination is a good option for that. Something that we did with CalDance. The third thing is the touch points of the brand. What are the places you will be displaying the brand? It might be the product itself, it's a physical product, or it might be the screens, it might be the print medium, and not all typefaces work well in all mediums. So that is a small thing that you need to keep in mind. But usually if you take care of first two, the third is something that usually works out by itself, but there are exceptions and you need to keep that in mind. So, unlike Twitter, Instagram prefers a long form of content. 1:1 is the most widely used, but 4:5 is the most practical aspect ratio when you're developing creatives for Instagram. The reason being, 4:5 is the maximum ratio Instagram offers in terms of height, unless you are looking into Reels. They are a completely different group of creatives. The longer you can capture a space in the phone while scrolling, the longer lands surface area you get. The more surface area you get, more attention you grab. So, and when it comes to 4:3 ratio, if you open your Instagram, you'll see that a 4:5 ratio creative covers the entire space. Uh, the whole screen is covered by the username, the creative, a little bit of the content, and probably one or two comments depending on how many engagement the comment got. So that aspect ratio lets you cover the whole screen, and that's what you want when you're posting to social medias. You are trying to capture attention, and the more space you occupy, the more attention you grab. And you'll see that most of the creatives are creatives that were also designed for Twitter, but they needs to be rearranged in a way that it works for Instagram as well. When you are creating from when you are repurposing content from one platform to another platform, that is completely fine, but you also need to adjust the content for that platform. The more adjusted content is for that platform, the better it performs. Coming back to the brand elements that I mentioned earlier, icons is one of the brand elements that can be used a lot, because you can use there are multiple ways you can use icons. If you had noticed earlier, you might have noticed these icons in some of the creatives. Now, if you create a library of brand elements, what it allows you to do a few things. Firstly, it helps you maintain consistency better, and the more consistency you have, the more uniform design language you have, the more recognizable the brand gets. The more recognizable a brand is, the more loyal your following is, and more the better your communication is with your audience. The second thing is, since you have a library of icons you can tap into and other brand elements, you don't have to go and look out for new icons every time you're creating a new creative. You have a library that you can repurpose. So it helps you maintain consistency, it helps you maintain a better design system, and that in turn helps you save time in multiple occasions when you're reusing that design system instead of creating new elements fresh from the scratch every time. Now, what icons you need depends on what the brand does. They are very brand specific. Some of them will be common, like play icon is something that most brands might be using. The heart icon is something most brands might be using, and you might there are some company logos that has been readjusted for the brand. The Apple, the Apple Store, the Android icon, the Google Play icon, for example, there are something that you can reuse when you are that's something you can do when you are creating a creative for the brand, for a different brand. You have to keep something in mind, which is every company also has some brand guidelines that you need to follow when you are using their logos. While you can change the style of a logo to fit a particular creative, you cannot do that directly to represent the brand. So that's a little bit of legal nuance that you need to keep in mind. In this case, this whole icon set is just for creatives and communication. These are not for representing these brands directly. So let's say I'm creating a creative where I'm say using the download from Google Play badge. That's a place where I have to use their brand guidelines and use the logo as it is. But let's say I am just announcing that the brand is available in Google Play. Then I can use the modified version of Google Play logo to fit the brand narrative better. These are minor nuances, but this matter when you are designing in larger scales. When you're building a community, mostly a great tool to do that are Instagram stories, because Instagram does not support links directly in the captions like most other social medias do. So when you are trying to push links, stories are the best option. Hence, you cannot ignore stories. And while a lot of brands, including me myself, repurpose posts as story by sharing the post in a story and adding a link there, I do that personally quite a bit. Using the taller screen of the story itself directly lets you be more creative about how you communicate certain ideas. So that's something you need to keep in mind. And other thing is, when you're designing for stories, remember to leave some space which allows the social media manager to bring in elements from the social media. Instagram, for example, allows you to, Instagram stories has multiple inbuilt elements that you can use. You can use events, you can use links, you can use polls. So when you're designing a story, remember how that creative of the story will be used. If it will be used with a link, leave a space for the link. If it will be used as a poll, leave a space for adding that poll. And it's something probably people already know, but you need to keep in mind. Don't fill the entire space. Also leave some space for the UI elements on the top and bottom of the story. For example, the comment section, then the page details on the top. Those are things you need to keep in mind. If you're competing with them, it will hurt the creative and the overall brand.
And I think this is interesting, Aditya. Maybe a few question I had in mind when you were explaining was that how and where Web3 innovation is required given our standard website logic. So, when do you suggest, or which sector do you suggest we should use it? Like gaming, crypto, all the advanced technology should only adopt it, or can generic use cases also adopt it?
Yes. So, just like, once again, this is also something I can compare with the rise of artificial intelligence. Something, when we are using a technology into something, we need to make sure the technology fits in as a purpose. So, for example, Web3 has applications primarily in two ways: the blockchain network, which connects everything together. So, that's a great tool to utilize in securities, because a blockchain network is much harder to break into compared to the traditional modes of cybersecurity, because they're all connected to each other and there's a proof of evidence, a proof of concept, and a proof of track record. For Because how blockchain works is, it works with nodes, and each node has the information of what the node before it and after it is. So finding the track record of something is very easy. So it maintains security much better than traditional security. At the same time, it also maintains privacy, because while it's keeping information of the node before and after it keeps the information in a encrypted way. So you know the node, but you don't know the person behind the node. So it's a beautiful mix of ambiguity and security. The other thing is, when it comes to, for example, you mentioned gaming. When it comes to gaming and other kind of stuff where ownership is an important issue, for example, the whole rise of NFTs, that's something that can be maintained very well with blockchain. We know how copyrights is a big problem, not in large scale. Copyright is very easily maintained through expensive lawsuits by large firms. But when it comes to small creators, uh, small artists who want to protect their art, that's where copyright is a big player, which is something most people cannot afford. You know, having a copyright lawsuit is not cheap. It's quite expensive. It can get expensive, and there's no guarantee of you winning at the end. But when you use the NFT technology, NFT is not a technology by itself, it's a concept that runs on blockchain technology. When you go that, you can prove who the owner of that particular creative is. So it's a very good way to automate ownership and automate copyrights. And it's finding how a technology fits into a use case instead of pushing a technology just because it's cool. That's it's something that is applicable to all technologies, and blockchain is not Web3 is not an exception to that. We don't need Web3 for basic websites. Even when we look at Web3 companies, their informative website, their front-facing website is not built on Web3 because that's not practical. It's the technology, the platform, and the processes and those behind-the-scenes stuff which are built on Web3. So Akshat asks, how do you build trust and credibility in a decentralized space where anonymity is common? It is a good question. It is a good question because uh, while the privacy element of Web3 is a pro, it can also be used as a con by many scammers because you don't know who the person behind is. Although you can track the whole business, if you cannot track the person, you cannot, you can't exactly make them responsible for whatever they're doing. In this case, building a trust is similar to how building a trust works in the overall the traditional businesses. If you know the person behind the business, you feel greater sense of trust in that business. So if your goal, if you have a positive goal behind your Web3 business, a good way to do that is by doxing yourself. Doxing is basically having a transparent picture of who the people behind something is. So have your profile public, at least some parts of it, so that people can know who the person behind the brand is. It's similar to how uh, when you are branding for a company, it's always advisable that the CEO of the company, the face of the company, also has a public profile, so that people can check who the person is. It's similar to how building trust works there, and similar to how building trust works here. uh, trust Trust is a very primal human emotion, so technology does not change that. Those few primal things are constant across all technologies, and that's also how Web3 trust works. Okay, thanks again for this question as well, Akshay, which is, can you share your design process? I can share my design process. Let me answer the second part before, which is how you landed this project. Uh, so this is a project I worked on while I was working. I wasn't hired by CalDance directly. I was hired by the marketing agency CalDance hired. So I did not have to land CalDance themselves. I had to land the marketing agency that was managing that. And I can also tell you how the marketing agency themselves landed this project. So it's two part. The marketing agency is a Canada-based marketing agency. It's an agency called Blockwiz. They're completely focused on the Web3 marketing scene. They are a Web3 marketing agency. That's what they call themselves, and they have team across the world. Their core performance team is based out of India. The CEO, the C-suite themselves are Indians, but they live in Canada. And this is a very common strategy used by a lot of companies. Even if you look at the large scale MNCs, they also use the same strategy. When you look at TCS, Wipro, etc., most of their workforce lives in India, while their client facing components, their business development side lives in the European and American markets, so that they can pick up work from there and get it done from India at cheaper labor cost. Yeah, so that happens. That's also how they landed. They directly reach out to prospect clients. They have a whole business development team, who approaches clients, and since they are a focused marketing agency, it becomes easier for them to pick up clients from that particular niche. This is where niching down helps you. When you are trying to get a specific kind of clients, you don't have to know everything. You just have to be the best choice for them for that particular work. And that's the more you niche down, the more people know that you are exactly what they want, and the more chances you have of hiring. Of course, you are also indirectly telling every other type of people that you are probably not for them, but that's fine. You don't really want to work with them anyway. You want to work with a specific kind of people. You just need to let them know that you are their guy. And coming to the design process, let me open up the files. Okay, so this is the core file that I have on Illustrator because Illustrator is my favorite design tool. Uh, these are created using the the text is the typeface House, and these elements are converted from emojis. Yes, you have emoji one and those kind of files, which you can then type into use them, use clips, and you can convert those clips into vectors. That's one a shortcut of creating these. Here, okay, these are collected from different places and then converted into brand specific elements. And for this particular brand, most of the creatives were done on Photoshop. I don't have this particular typeface installed in my system at the moment, but the different tools that we used was gradient maps. And if you don't know how to create a gradient map, you can use this segment and you get access to gradient map. So what gradient map does is it lets you create duotone effects. This whole, this duotone effect, and these shapes were created on Illustrator. There are different gradients. That's most of the design system that have been used. Let me give you another example. This has some product photography in it. It's not exactly product photography. They supplied with some of their product renders. So this particular thing is a product render. This is a brand element which I showed you part of the design system library. It's one of the icons that has been created in Illustrator. This shape has been created in Illustrator, and this logo. So when you break it down, things are not that complicated. It's more about how you use them together. Okay. In this case, what we also used was the mockup. This is a mockup. They shared the UI screens with us of their application, which is now available on Play Store and Apple Store. It was not available back then, so we used their the application UI screens that they were working on. Used mockups to express this. This is a mockup. Then some brand elements once again from Illustrator. The text. This background is a photo that they had, shadow created using their product photography. And there's the gradient map. This is the original photo. This is the gradient map creating a duotone, which basically builds up the contrast. So you need to play a little bit on subtlety. The contrast is built up using duotones here, but there are other tools as well. The subtlety is this shadow, and the core creative is this mockup and the text. This uses some stock photography. This is stock photography. There's the gradient map for duotone. There's masking. So it's just mask, gradient map, and you have the brand vibe. Repeat the shapes, which is something you saw here. Oh, sorry. Say, same shape for consistency and brand recognition. Same typography, same brand colors, the logo. So the an important part of branding is repetition of the consistency. You use similar style multiple times, and slowly it builds up a recognition for the brand. It doesn't come with one creative; it comes over all the different creatives as a group. This story, for example, you know, this this emojis is created from typeface, which is Sergio UI emoji. So these are a bit of hacks that you can find out instead of having vectors and managing the whole thing. You can simply use emojis in the text. This is another example. By the way, while this shape is forming repetition, the other thing this is doing, stories in stories, you need to swipe between the horizontal swipe you have in stories. So this is a visual cue for that as well. Instead of telling you to swipe, it gives you a direction using a brand specific shape that tells the audience what to do. And in case if you're looking at this calendar representation, you can see that it's still using brand colors, brand typography, and a little cue that says that the number of days is reducing, like it's getting from 2 days to 1 day. Remember, I told you about managing stories in a way that you have space for visual cues. You can see it has a lot of blank space here. The blank space here is for using Instagram's own story elements, which is a bookmark element you will find while putting Instagram stories. So it's places for that. Yeah, those are different things basically, and yeah. So it's all tiny things that add up to this whole brand experience. I think that is all. Okay, I think that that would go all for now, and like we'll have different session for now. And thank you everyone for joining. Have a good night, and yeah, bye bye.